but we will not allow our generosity to be abused by those who would break our laws, defy our rules, violate our borders, break into our country illegally. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
I'm here today to announce that the program known as DACA that was effectuated under the Obama administration is being rescinded.
And it's very possible that DACA won't happen, and it's not because of the Republicans, it's because of the Democrats.
In 2012, the Obama administration created the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, known as DACA. The program allows young adults who came to the U.S. illegally as children to apply for a renewable 2-year visa, allowing them to work legally and be safe from deportation. Itziri Lopez Santiago was kind enough to share her story with us.
So we had heard that the government was going to make a program for students who wanted a higher education and weren't able to because of their status, and then became DACA. We were one of the first 100 people that actually applied for the DACA when it came in effect. So when that happened, we waited. We got a little. We make a joke about it because it was a little green card, and we said, "Oh, look, we got our green card." But it was just a card with a date and a location to get your fingerprints done. So because we will be working, they want our fingerprints to make sure that we haven't had any like federal things done or criminal records. So after we went to get our fingerprints done, we waited, I believe it was 2 months before we got our official employment card. After the employment card, we started working, and I was actually already 16 at the time. So I had applied once I got my card and I got the job. And the same thing goes for my two older brothers who did the same thing. You need your passports, taxes. You also need school records. So when you first applied, you needed the school records to have proof that you've been in the U.S. since you were, I believe it was like 12 was the age that they required students to be for the DACA program. So we had to have proof of all of that we've been in the U.S. for longer than the 7 years, which we were at that time. And then so the process is from getting it approved and then waiting to get that confirmation card to get your fingerprints done, and then after that you get your DACA card. You do this every 2 years, 6 months before your card expires, because it's usually a 6-month period where the process takes place.
A large majority of DACA applicants come from Mexico, which is why President Trump made Mexican immigrants and other countries from Central and Southern America a huge area of focus, where he was campaigning heavily against our current immigration policies at the time. One woman who fights for the citizenship and rights of immigrants and their families is immigration attorney Audrey Allen. She handles both business and family immigration cases.
My name is Audrey Allen, and I'm an immigration attorney. I have a small practice in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. So I majored in communications and Spanish, and I was trying to kind of find a way to marry my interest in language and international studies with the law. So I actually did an interpretation certification my last year of college and wound up with an internship at an immigration firm, and really decided that that was something that I could really put my heart and soul into. So I decided to go to law school, and then I have been working in the field of immigration since I graduated in 2004. So it's interesting because most attorneys don't even know another immigration attorney. It's a very niche area of law, but underneath the umbrella of immigration, there's so many different facets. So my focus is primarily on family or individual immigration, so that still has a lot of different types of cases: asylum, victims of domestic violence, and then I do some corporate work as well, but primarily Spanish-speaking family cases. I have a lot of stories that can bring tears to my eyes, but I do find a lot of joy in working with young people who have been successful in getting DACA and really having so many doors open to them. When you are undocumented, it's a tough life, always looking over your shoulder, not having access to a lot of things: education, employment, just basic human rights that most people in the United States take for granted. So I do a lot of pro bono work for patients and families of St. Christopher's Hospital for Children, and I do have one family in particular. There's 3 sisters and 1 brother, and 2 of the sisters have been able to get DACA, and then were able to, because of having that DACA status, apply for a permission to travel document. And when they traveled on that and came back into the United States legally, that allowed them to then have access to apply for their green card if they had an underlying way to do that, like through marriage to a U.S. citizen. So this is kind of over the course of 8 years, this story that I just told in a couple sentences, but I have the one person's green card based on her marriage to a U.S. citizen coming up, so it was very rewarding to see her. She has a great career now, she has a great life, and was really amazing to see so many doors open to her because of the DACA program. And I think particularly my heart just goes out to young people who are really punished for things that, these sins that have not been committed by them, but, they had no part in the decision of their parents bringing them here as children. And I think it's really cruel to end a program that has given education and employment opportunities to really deserving young people who, really are only looking to fulfill the American dream.
So I do believe that the kind of requirements to get a renewal will be a lot more difficult. As of right now, the process is if you already have your DACA card, you automatically get a renewal unless you've done something that's gotten you arrested or any of that that affects the government. So I do believe it will change because of the new, depending on the new presidency and how strict they put on, what restrictions they put on the renewal process, because I feel like they'll probably want to have more proof that what exactly you're doing, like what kind of jobs you're doing, what are you studying kind of thing, because I feel like the government wants this program to not just help kids and DACA recipients, but also to help the government as a whole. So those who are going to be more in like the medical field and like the engineering that like have more advances, then those are the people they're going to kind of like direct their focus on to get renewed for their DACA status. So I believe that DACA is still important, even though it doesn't guarantee you a pathway to citizenship, because it does, like I said, give you a secure feeling of I am doing something good for the government, even though this is the only place I know. Same thing going, you get to finish your education. I know a lot of students who didn't qualify for the DACA program and believe they can't go off to college because they don't have status, which isn't entirely true. There are still other schools who accept students regardless of their status, but it gives students more opportunities that most students don't get, especially with work-wise, because most places you have to have a social security number to even work, unless you do under the table, which obviously is illegal. But it gives students a lot more opportunities having this little status even though it may not lead to a whole citizenship.